No one remembered when the river began to glow. It had always flowed quietly through the valley, a ribbon of soft silver light that hummed like a lullaby. People said it was the breath of the moon or a last tear of a forgotten god, but to Sena it was simply home. She lived in a cottage near its bank, where the water shimmered against her window every night. Sena wasn't like the others in her village. While they feared the river and its strange murmurs, she listened. She had grown up hearing the water speak, not in words, but in feelings. When she was happy, the river sparkled. When she cried, its light dimmed as if to share her sorrow. One evening, as dusk wrapped the mountains in violet and blue, the river stopped glowing. The valley fell into darkness, so complete that even the stars seemed to hide. The villagers whispered that the river's spirit had died, but Sena felt something different, a silence that wasn't death, but waiting. She took her lantern and walked toward the water. The air was colder than she remembered, the smell of rain heavy on her skin. When she knelt at the river's edge, the surface rippled, forming faint shapes, faces that dissolved before she could name them. Then, from the heart of the water, a whisper rose. "Find what was lost. Bring back the first light." Sena's breath trembled. "Where?" she whispered. The river shimmered faintly, drawing her gaze upstream, toward the mountains where no one ever went. That was where the source of the river lay, and where they said the old world still dreamed. She packed nothing but her lantern, a flask, and her grandmother's silver comb, a relic said to belong to the women who once guarded the moonlight. And then, beneath the pale dawn, she began to walk. The path wound through forests that hummed with unseen voices. Trees bent slightly as she passed, as though remembering her from a story told long ago. Once she stopped at an abandoned shrine where a small fox with eyes like stars watched her in silence. It did not run when she spoke. Instead, it turned and began to walk ahead, as if leading her somewhere. Days passed. The air grew thinner. The fox disappeared at the edge of a cliff where a waterfall of pure light plunged into nothingness. There was no bridge, no road, just endless brightness below. But in that glow, Sena saw something, a reflection of herself, standing beneath the water, eyes full of calm. Without thinking, she stepped forward. The fall didn't hurt. It felt like being caught by 1,000 hands made of silk and wind. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer in the mountains. She was in a vast garden lit by floating orbs of light. Not stars, not fireflies, but tiny fragments of memory. They drifted through the air, whispering the names of forgotten dreams. And there, in the center of it all, stood a mirror made of liquid glass. Sena approached. Her reflection smiled before she did. "You came," it said. "You heard the river." "Who are you?" she asked. "I am what you forgot," the reflection said gently. "The river carried your dreams when you stopped believing in them. Every light here once belonged to someone who gave up." Sena's throat tightened. Around her, thousands of orbs pulsed faintly, their whispers rising and falling like a tide. She recognized one voice, her mother's, another, her own, much younger, giggling. "Why did it stop glowing?" she asked. "Because belief fades when it is not tended." "You stopped listening to yourself." Her reflection reached out. And this time, it wasn't glass she touched, but warmth. The garden began to tremble. The orbs rose higher, circling around her in spirals of gold and white. "Then how do I bring it back?" Sena whispered. "Remember, said the voice. "Not what you were told to be, but what you are." The world blurred. The garden dissolved into light. When Sena woke, she was lying by the river again. But it was different now. Not silver, not blue, but alive. Every drop shimmered with stories, laughter, and dreams. The water hummed beneath her fingers, and the valley bloomed in colors unseen before. The villagers came running, eyes wide with awe, but Sena didn't speak. She only smiled and placed her hand in the river once more. The fox appeared across the bank, watching. It dipped its head, and for a moment its body flickered, revealing a shape of pure light before fading into the air. The river whispered again, but softly this time, like a heartbeat. "You remembered?" From that day on, the river of whispering light glowed brighter than ever. Children played on its banks without fear. The villagers no longer spoke of curses or lost gods. They said a girl had spoken to the river and brought back its song. They didn't know her name, but when they looked into the water, they saw her reflection smiling back. And on clear nights, when the moon leaned close to listen, you could still hear her laughter in the ripples, gentle, timeless, alive.